Take a tour of a
At this time, I'd like to welcome everyone to the Perry Players Showcase. Sit back, relax, and enjoy yourself. It's my pleasure right now to present to you the Perry Players.
is meant to be is gonna be now. Destiny for you and me, oh yeah. This is where love begins, and it's happening tonight. This is where love begins. I said it's coming from you and I. This is where love begins. But it starts with your heart. Away from all this madness, our dreams can learn to fly, making us so high on each other, waiting here for love to lead the way. Love to lead the way. In this midnight magic, rinsing breathlessly, reaching desperately to find each other in harmony. You and me, oh yeah. This is where love begins, and it's happening tonight. This is where love begins. I said it's coming from you and I. This is where love begins. But it starts with the This is where love begins, and it's happening tonight. This is where love begins. I said it's coming from you and I. This is where love begins. But it starts with your heart. This is where love begins, and lonely love. This is where love begins. This is where love begins. But it starts with your heart. This is where. This is where, right here, baby. This is where, this is where, you know, it starts right here, baby. This is where, this is where. This is where, this is where, right here, baby. This is where, this is where, right here. This is where. There's been something I've been meaning to say since I saw you the very first day. Once I used to be all alone, but now that lonely feeling gone, gone, gone. You make me feel
Grilla goes to Wayfair for top grills and gear and smoking fast shipping. Well done.
Wayfair, you've got just what I need.
Had shined on me, and now I want the world to see the greatest love I ever known. You got my heart, you got my soul. Make me feel so right. Baby, you got my soul. I want you with me every night. Got my soul. Hey Charles, let's show these people how we share our lives beautifully. I mean. Say I need your love in every day. There's nothing
All I think about
can't
is
do.
me and you.
Lord knows I try.
Every day you come my way.
Every day you come.
Never had a word to say. Was always so mean and cruel.
You were all the things I could ever expect. Now you left me all alone. I wanted
Really
you
want to see
to
you again, searching for the way to say I need your loving every day.
I really need your love.
I really want to see you
I'm
again, searching for the day when all that sunlight through my window pane. I really want to see you again. I only live my
I
life to
only
be
live my life to be
with
with you, baby. And then no one else in the world
searching for the way
can live without
to
you.
say I need your loving every day. I really want to see you again, searching for the day
Searching for a way.
when all that sunlight through my window pane. I really want to see you again, searching for the way
Can't live without
to
you.
say I need your loving every day.
I'm lonely, I need you,
really want to see you again, searching for the day when all that sunlight through my window pane. I really want to see you again.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tony Perry on the tenor saxophone. He plays so beautiful, don't you agree? Right. But right now, we'll break it right down and tell you a little bit about this song, how we came across it. You see, I know everyone out there in the audience tonight have someone that they really want to see again. Maybe they was nice to you the first time, or the second time, or maybe the third. But you say, I want to see that person again. And so, what we feel, if you want to see someone, and you want to see them bad enough, you just express your feeling. Let it out. Tell them how you feel. What I'm really trying to say is that we would love to see each and every one of you again. Maybe in the future, maybe in the past, or maybe in the present. And so right now, we're going to express our feelings to show you that we do want to see you again. Oh yeah, we want to see you again. I'm searching for a way, I know you wanna find a way, the way.
that's right. The comments. You guys are on fire tonight. Yeah, I'm going to be off mic for a bit here. I forgot to set something up here. Nothing major, but something nonetheless. And let's see if I can't get myself on the cords. Something tells me this is going to be the night that I impale myself on something. I mean, I did call it the I don't know what I'm doing stream. I'm doing my darndest to live up to that. I promise I had things planned. Wasn't this totally worth the wait? Alright, there will be image momentarily. Everybody seen my TV, my PVM color bars? I hope. There's about a 30-second lag, by the way. Everybody, okay. Good, we're seeing stuff, that's good. Alright, now for my next trick, because I think I'm obligated. And hopefully I can point my microphone. Alright, because I don't think I'm going to get away with not doing this. Can you tell I did not rehearse at all? I'm trying to remember this. Wasn't the last stream I did the Can I Remember It stream? Can I even remember Pavand? Of course, if I really knew what I was doing, I would have those color bars going straight into the stream. But I guess this is kind of a step up for me, isn't it? You can tell I don't normally do this. Okay, let me wear my microphone. There we go. All right. I think that's about all the music I can even pull off tonight. I have not played, I have not rehearsed in too long. Obviously, you can tell I did not rehearse that. I just pulled out the mandolin and tried, and obviously kind of failed. Speaking of which, on the musical front, I am getting tantalizingly close to finishing an archive soundtrack album, but I need to... I got 2 more songs I want to do. I need to actually play a little again, so I'm not just farting my way through things. And I hope to get that out come like September or October. So that will be one more project in the pipeline. So anyway, I guess I should ask how everyone's doing out there tonight, if I haven't already, because my brain doesn't go that far back. So anyway, there's 2 reasons certainly for me doing this stream here. Excuse me. The first one being that I did not have anything prepared for this week. If you've been following me lately, I've been working on a split documentary and regular episode on the Quasar Great Time Machine, which is a very short-lived video format from, 1977, here in the States at least. And speaking of which, I got myself a nice cover for it, so the Quasar is under there. I'm not going to pull it out right now. You'll see way too much of it soon enough. But this week was supposed to be my documentary of me just basically trying to learn it and trying to figure out, as things went wrong, as they sure enough did, and trying to transfer tapes and just trying to, figure that whole thing out. And I have that finished, so that will be out next week. The following week will be a normal archive episode. Now, I should note my documentary is kind of an unintentional movie. The thing clocks in at 94 minutes, so I think we can safely say a record breaker for archive. And as it stands, the normal episode, if you will be more in that standard 25 to 30 minute range. So otherwise, that will be the end of this season number 11. Can you believe that? And it's going to be the 11th anniversary of starting archive, the premiere of it on July 5th. I don't have anything planned. That's kind of an off year, even though I normally do off the wall stuff. That seems like I'm kind of pushing it. So anyway, after the regular Great Time Machine episode drops, it will be between season break time, which brings me to my other reason for doing this stream. I put out a GoFundMe. There should be a link in the video description, and I dropped it very early on in the chat as well. And one thing that went wrong when I was working on the Great Time Machine was I had 4 old fillings just kind of fail on me all at once. I wasn't eating anything sticky. I wasn't doing anything wrong. It just kind of nature said it was time. And so that kind of drained the would-be travel budget. So now I'm trying to build that back up. So yeah, I got to do a little bit of an e-begging venture, unfortunately. But anyway, I'm seeing people mention Sergey in the comments. Yes, the week that I am in, I'm not going to be there a whole week, but when I go back to Minnesota to redo the AM stereo episode, one of my biggest failures, Sergey will most likely be taking care of things that week. So anyway, let's see. I'm kind of stuck on a leash here. What you're seeing is from my phone, and I do have, multiple cameras, if you will, set up. But if you are one of the lucky 7 people that saw my little test stream last night, it was a little wonky, a little impractical, so I found it's easier to just grab my phone, which is sitting on a tripod, and kind of swing around. So anyway, this time around, I got another radio. Now, the one I had last year, and I still have, was in better physical condition, but this one is fully working. This one is confirmed working. Everything lights up. And if that fails, if you're into V Westlife, the V Westlife channel on YouTube, he did a video a few months ago where he tried to fix the first radio and couldn't. Well, as I guess a parting gift, he sent me this cheapy little Chinese one. This is new old stock, so this is my fail-safe. And if all goes according to plan, hopefully I can get like an interview or talk to the guys over at WXYG just outside of St. Cloud in Sauk Rapids. So hopefully that happens. At the very least, hopefully I'll get to take a little poke around the station. I don't know if they'll let me shoot anything or not, but we will find out. So otherwise, yeah, as I mentioned, this is a new rig for me on the streaming front. I've got my laptop going right now so I can kind of monitor what I'm doing. And yeah, it's going to be a whole lot of me just farting around, figuring things out, showing off why I don't do a whole lot of live streams. But also, I guess by this token, if I can do something this sophisticated, I guess, I don't know, maybe I think I'm the last person the Riff Tracks guys haven't asked to play that game of theirs. Now, granted, I don't have a Steam account or anything, but still. So let's see. Otherwise, I've been meaning to... I need to get back in touch with Ben, Canadian Ben, Classical Gas Emissions Ben. I don't know if he is up to it, but I got me another Hatronic AP41. Now this is the tricked out model, and it's a time-based corrector / frame sync generator. Now I use a smaller version of this on a lot of transfers I do, but I want to go up to this one. But this, as far as I can tell, came out during the capacitor plague. The color is completely off. Everything is woefully out of spec on this. Now, I could be wrong. That's why I'd rather send it along to somebody who's a little more proficient than I am. But yeah, if I can find somebody to take a proper look at that, make sure I'm not barking up the wrong tree and just assuming bad caps, that needs to happen. Now, briefly getting back to the Quasar here, I guess I did all right in that this 2 feet of tape or so, if that, was the only casualty of the entire process. And with that tape, normally I would just say pass it through the VCR because it'll be distorted for a while, but you know, big deal. It won't be that much of an issue. It won't hurt your VCR. Well, the way those great Time Machine tapes, VX tapes, are wound, even a rumple will really cause problems. So unfortunately, I had to cut that bit out. Now, there's nothing of any great value on it, so to speak. I mean, it's part of a Boston Pops concert, but it's one that's very much present and accounted for elsewhere and in better quality and all that. So, yeah. I think I did fairly well. Otherwise, I've got 2 main points of business to go over here tonight. Now, if you're one of the lucky 7 that saw last night's debacle, I have my Philips CDI out again. And what I want to do is I want to take another crack at Who Shot Johnny Rock, because I encountered what I think is a glitch in the game. Now, I don't plan on going, all on gaming YouTuber or anything on you here. But it's something that's been kind of bugging me. So if you saw that last round of Philips CDI stuff that I did 3 months ago now, once I got down to the quote-unquote final round of Johnny Rock, I kept losing. No matter how good my aim was, no matter what happened, it just kept going wrong on me. So yeah, I think I'm going to do that. So it would be so nice if I could actually run the PVM to the computer, and I'm sure there's a way, but it's just not super practical. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take another shot at the game, quite literally. This is about as violent as Oddity Archive gets. I got the Peacekeeper out, so all real period hardware. And also I should note that, if you saw that episode, the whole reason of using a PVM is for the absolute lowest amount of latency. So everything is as quick as possible. But you'll notice once I get this going that there's a massive amount of lag still. So I have to do everything by rote, and even then things are not necessarily functioning. And I'm going to have to kind of wrap my hand around the camera here. So let me bump over to S-Video. Of course, I don't have an assistant, so I have to kind of do everything myself. Shock of shocks, as logic would dictate. So with the people that watched last night, they helped me level out my lavalier mic and the mic I have in front of the speaker of the TV. So hopefully that holds true. Now, having said that, the gunshots in this game are literally probably twice as loud. On if you could, graph out decibels in a linear way. So yeah, you might jump a little. And actually, I'm going to turn off my studio light here. And I'm going to sit probably around 8 to 10 feet back from the monitor. And I'll let all the cute stuff play. And I wouldn't be surprised if this gets me nailed by YouTube. I think there is still a version of American Laser Games out there. So anyway, I'm going to try and half-read comments. Let me know, do you want to sit through me playing a whole round of this? Or do you want me to just jump to the problematic part?
Mumps is the name. What of it? Johnny Rock? He was a bum. Two-timer. A double crosser. I don't know who shot him. Why don't you ask that grease monkey, Potts?
Johnny Rock. That's all I hear anymore. Yeah, he was an acquaintance. He had a soft spot for horses and Hudsons. This here one was his. I acquired it for him. And he placed a few bets in my book, but I didn't shoot him.
Okay, I'm seeing 1 for sit through it. 1 for jump to the problematic bit. 2 for play all. Either way. Come on, this is like a 50-50 split here. Thank you to the person that just sent a super chat. Again, YouTube takes a big cut. If you want to make sure it mostly goes to me, please go to GoFundMe.
Oh, no, not me. Lockjaw Lil.
Boy, what is this, 50-50 here that I'm seeing in the comments? Okay, how about this? We'll do this twice. Now, I'm going to have to calibrate the gun first. There's no way around that. You have to do that every single time. So I'm going to move. I'm not going to calibrate this way, but you might notice there's a little bit of a problem occasionally. You'll see it once we get to the game. Of course, I forgot that you don't get crosshairs in the target segment. Yeah, I got too close. But if you notice, there's a slight lag. All right, let me try this again at a proper distance. So I'm shooting the top left and bottom right. I really think this is a game glitch. Okay, show crosshairs because I'm going to be helpless otherwise. And also, again, just to show that it's a little on the glitchy side. So, again, I'm going to sit way back here. I tried to come up with a dual camera version of this, but I can't zoom in the webcam. So if I wave the Peacekeeper in front of the webcam, I can't get a tight shot. So we don't get any choice. We have to sit through the first part. That's just how the game is set up. That is not my
As soon as I saw
doing.
her, I knew she was in trouble.
I'm in trouble, and I need your help.
Then I made my first mistake. I said I'd listen.
Oh, first bad guy.
Someone shot my boyfriend, Johnny Rock, and I want you to find out who it was.
And that actress, I swear I've seen her somewhere before.
He always wanted to be
If you're familiar with the old sitcom Perfect Strangers, wasn't she one of the girlfriends towards the end of the run?
When I got to Johnny Rock, I found this.
Okay, remember that. Our lucky number is 1.
Johnny, are you there? Johnny, what's the lucky number? Johnny, what's the lucky number? Johnny and I, you can call me Red, we were going to be married.
Uh-oh.
Johnny had the goods on
More bad guys. And I know who it is because I've played this too many times.
I asked if she was being followed.
Oh, they switched it on me. That's the first time it's ever been the guy on the left.
I asked if she
I've played this 100 times and
She said she didn't think so.
they changed it on me.
How do you turn down a dame that gives you roses?
The key to the mystery will be found in Johnny's safe.
Uh-oh, more bad guys. I can just see this game eating lots and lots of quarters.
Nail the rat that did this. Put him away until he's as old and gray as the cement in his cell.
Then I made my second mistake. I said I'd try. And then I opened the telegram.
Which is just the basic rules of the game. Alright, so when I jump to Johnny Rock's mansion, the first guy comes out from behind a telephone pole, it looks like, and I can shoot all day, anywhere, everywhere, and he still gets me, no matter when I start, when I finish. So I've got enough here for 4 deaths right now. We'll just jump right to the stupid part. So right here behind this pole. See, he got me.
We're gonna have to shorten your nickname, Slugger. To Slug.
There are too many suspicious thugs hanging around.
And it's one of the same 2 or 3 calls every time, too. It's either saying, don't come back to the office, or go to the pool hall and make some money. And it's a whopping $50. Not enough to even buy you ammo. Alright, so we'll give Johnny Rock's mansion a go again here. And I'm just going to start shooting straight away here. Alright. That did not work. So this time I guess I'll start at the pole and at the head and work my way down maybe. I was kind of shooting for the torso because it's not picky for any of this other stuff. But this is where I keep losing the game. See?
Yeah, patching you up anymore is like patching up a sieve.
Okay, since I know I'm probably going to get killed next time, I'm just going to start shooting almost randomly, see if there's another part of the screen. And yes, I shot... No, I didn't shoot JR. He's already been shot, come to think of it. I was going to make a Dallas joke there. All around. Yep. So that's the glitch. This game makes me want to go Elvis Presley on the CDI. All right, well, I guess we can just finish out the game here. And then I'll try it again, and I don't know how funny I can be offhand. This is Benny Boy in tech mode. Yep, lost again.
No money? Take him to the morgue.
Out of money, out of luck. That's the name of the game.
All right, one more round, and this time we'll go through it all the way. I mean, you took time out of your busy lives to watch me do stupid things on the internet. I might as well make it worth your while. Let's see if it goes back to the guy on the left being the killer. Actually, I'm going to move this camera a little closer. Hopefully it gives you a slightly clearer image. Problem is it's blocking my view partially.
I said I'd listen.
Telegram for you, boss.
So we know the bad guy is there, but when it's the guys with the boxes seemingly of flowers.
I want you to find out who it was.
Johnny Rock.
And I really want to love these games. I've told this story on Archive before, that I used to play Mad Dog McCree a bit as a kid in the arcade and lost massively each time, of course.
When I got to Johnny Rock, I found this in his hand.
Johnny, are you there? Johnny, what's the lucky number? Johnny, what's the lucky number? Johnny and I, you can call me Red, we were going to be married. Johnny
Okay, is it going to be back to the guy on the
I
left?
want you to find them.
I asked if she was followed.
Yep. Now it's back to the configuration I'm used to.
Besides, how do you turn down a dame that gives you roses?
And I don't really worry about running out of ammo.
The key to the mystery will be found in Johnny's safe.
Oh, hello, Mr. Bad Guy. And there's another one in the stairwell.
Nail the rat that did this. Put him away.
I could make a very, very inappropriate joke there, but I won't because I'm sort of a
Then I
gentleman.
made my second mistake. I said I'd try. And then I opened the telegram.
I like that. Do not kill the suspects. Well, yeah. And another thing, the clues, in my own experience, proved to be kind of worthless. All right, let's try another round here. I usually start with casino. And there's two versions, a window and a railing scene. So, oh, we got a rooftop. The one time people are actually watching me play this thing. Oh.
Cheese. You remind me of Swiss cheese.
In that I smell funny and I'm runny?
There are too many suspicious thugs hanging around the office. You better not come back here anymore.
Okay, let's see what version of casino it gives me this time. Oh, it gives me the same one again. So where was that bastard? So this time you get to watch me actually try and learn this in real time. Because that's the only way to play Johnny Rock. Or Mad Dog McCree. Oh, hey, a nickel.
The casino. I knew Johnny Rock had played in this private club.
What's some password?
I showed him my 38.
Okay, well,
And I showed it too.
leave this place the way you came in.
There she was in the purple cape.
I think there was a certain demographic for this game. Call it a hunch.
Needed to talk to.
Okay. It's usually off to the right somewhere the first time. Of course, in real life, you'd be dead many times over because, you know, you don't have time to prepare for such things. Usually somebody behind the bar. Oh, sorry, lady. You caught me multitasking. So, Ben just killed an innocent person live-ish, some 30-odd years after the fact. Alright, we've done casino. How about we do pool hall just for fun? Actually, the warehouse one's the really wonderfully goofy one.
Nurse, give me a hose.
You know, I'll just jump over to the warehouse. Because if you saw that episode, it's got some of the really elaborate kills.
Don't forget your lucky number, boss.
Alright, I got 3 more lives here. Oh, you bastard. Now, this usually comes at the beginning of the casino level, as I recall.
And the bad guys. The bad guys have the guns.
Alright, so I guess it's going to give me the window thing again. This one I'm a little more used to. And then usually somebody like behind a car. Getting in the warehouse is the hard part.
I fought my way
There we go.
inside the high explosives factory. I found the character I needed to talk to.
I splashed acid on my face, so they call me measles.
You know, I got hit in the face with a Betamax, a top-loading Betamax once, so that's why I don't appear at all.
Next time.
I've only got 1 more life. We might have to revisit the warehouse again, if that's okay.
Be sure and shoot the numbers to the combination in the order that you collected them.
Okay, well, I've only received 1 so far. And again, it never seems to make any great difference.
I fought my way inside the high explosives factory. I found the character I needed to talk to.
I splashed acid on my face, so they call me measles.
Or somebody just put really bad makeup splotches on your face. Or you stood in front of a paintball or something. It helps if you shoot first on the parts of the game that do work. That's the kill scene I was looking for. Like somebody just threw up a couple of sparklers or something. I think that's the end of the game. I wasn't paying attention. Oh.
I run a clean operation, just a little dynamite.
I wasn't a cop any more than he ran a clean operation.
Me and Johnny, we had a deal. We was going to be partners.
I asked him for his clue to the safe.
Yeah, okay, here it is.
You didn't give me anything. Okay, so we got a cod piece for very, very kinky people. There's your inappropriate joke of the night. Oh, I got $50. Casino again? I don't think I'm gonna survive this.
The casino. I knew Johnny Rock had played in this private club.
What's a password?
I showed him my 38.
Okay, Brad, but you don't never leave this place the way you came
There she was in the purple cape. Lockjaw.
I feel like I've seen this
She was
before.
the tight-lipped dame that I needed to talk to.
Of course, I like how they picked all these very outdated things like lockjaw and, well, I mean, measles is still a thing. This is one of those times where the lag in the actual game helps considerably. And there's one in here where it shows a bunch of the bottles blowing up. I think most of the budget for the game went for it. I guess we're not going to get that this time.
End up a corpse just like Johnny.
I told Lil I just...
Given I haven't done a full round of this since February, I'm not doing too
Then I
awful.
told the bleeding heart I just wanted her clue to Johnny's combination.
This is what you need to look for.
Can't even make that out.
Once you get to the study, you'll only have 4 shots.
Well, that's a new one. But I've never been able to get to the study because you have to get in the mansion first, and as you've seen, that never seems to work out.
Number at the casino and make out like a bandit.
So back to the casino, I guess, to play one of their crappy mini games. Yeah, I made $100, I think, if I were actually paying attention. Oh, garage, why not? Oh, this is a fun one. I like this one.
I went to the garage to find a disease named pox.
Oh, so you're the bright boy. Beat it. Where's business? Hey, why don't you show him that rod we just greased up, boy?
And it was like a Billy Barty clone, not what you saw, I mean the actual actor in one of these, it seems like. And it seems like it's in this one somewhere. Either that or I'm totally making that up. That might have got me. Oh, no. He was being generous.
So Johnny owed me a little money. So what? Everybody does. I got nothing to hide.
So he's called Pox, but he really just has a little chocolate syrup sprinkled on his face.
You don't even have to grease my palm. It's there.
And then we've got, I don't know, a sculpture from This Island Earth, perhaps, if you get the reference.
A big shipment just came in at the warehouse. Be there.
Okay. Why not? Oh, there's, oh, I see. This is a mini game. $250, but not enough for another life. Oh, geez, what have I not done yet? Pool hall? That's right. Yeah.
No money?
Yeah, that's it for that one. But anyway, I hope I got the point across. If you remember what it is. Yeah, speaking of stiff. Hopefully that sounded okay to everyone. Let me jump back to my test pattern here. All right, so that was one other part of this. Otherwise, it's become kind of custom for me, the custom rather. You can tell I'm not scripting this. To do a little Ask the Archive. So this is the point where you ask me your questions about love and life, or maybe just Oddity Archive. And don't expect good answers. I would not recommend using my answers as serious advice for anything. So I will wait for that. Let's see. Now do No World Order. There's not much to do, the Todd Rundgren one. Brian Noblock, think you were supposed to remember the numbers. I probably was on those things of gunpowder, maybe? Okay, first question. Is the same person who shot Johnny Rock the same person who put the bomp shabomp? No, but might have put the bomp in the bomp bomp, perhaps. I'm seeing this over and over. Does anyone have a phone made before 2011? I did prior to moving here. Ben, you are cool. Only when I sit on blocks of ice. Is it worth using a CRT TV in 2023? It depends on what you're trying to do. Like, the whole reason I have mine out is just for the minimum lag on using these old things, the old games. And if I were to do streams like this, it would be nice again to have a means of plugging it directly in so you could have a real proper look at things. But everybody just does stuff off of Steam and all that now. Let's see, have I found a decent TBC for my tape transfers? Usually the Hotronic. Lessons learned from doing archive. Yeah, none that I wish to share. I'd have to do truly an After Dark one. What about some other stuff you didn't talk about in Oddity Archive? Just being curious. I'm not sure what you mean. Who made the egg salad sandwiches? As far as I know, if I know my SCTV lore well enough, it was John Candy's character's mother. Or I'm just making that up. Ah, chat's jumping all around now. Oh, I see what it's doing. Barry White or Kool and the Gang? Barry White. First question, have you seen Tetris for CDI? I have Tetris for CDI. I don't know, if I do another one, I might have to try it. I don't think I've ever played it. When's the next local commercials episode? When I accrue an episode's worth of ones that I think are funny enough. And I have maybe half of one right now. Have I ever tried getting a hold of a VTR? Well, a videotape recorder, I assume you mean, which, yeah, I've got 3 or 4 open reel ones now. Of course, anything that's videotaped counts as a VTR. Did the Perry brothers ever release anything on disc? The Perry Players? Not that I know of. I cannot find anything on them. Think an episode on the Telefunken TED could ever be possible. Would a unit be functional on NTSC TVs? Telefunken TED was exclusive to Europe, so it would need... I could do PAL on this monitor, but I'd have to do the whole step-up converter thing, and I don't wish to do that. It's much easier for a European to do American things than the other way around. Also, you can Fleabay tapes for the Great Time Machine if you need them. I've got 15 of them. When is the next archive thrifting going to be out? Hopefully over that between season break. Either like 4th of July week or just after it. I think it works out that if I do Sergey the week that, or let Sergey do his show, if you will, the week I'm in Minnesota, I think the 4th falls on like that Tuesday, so it would be like July 6th or something. Do I have Burn Cycle on CDI? I might. I've got a whole box. What got you inspired to do Oddity Archive? Greetings from Belize. Greetings from Sioux Falls. Boredom, unemployment, and nobody else was discussing the things that interested me, really. So there was kind of an opening in the market. If I started this today, I think I'd be a dead duck. So I think I got lucky. If anything, I was late to the game. I should have started in 2007 or something. Would like to see Ben riff Manos Hands of Fate in its entirety. I've said this in other Ask the Archives. I'm not against doing a whole movie, but I cannot do it myself. Like, if you've ever seen any of the riff tracks with just Mike Nelson, it just doesn't work. You need at least one other person, ideally 3 people total. So, that would be a very long-term project, but yeah, it's not one that I foresee doing, but I'm not opposed to it. What has my favorite tape find of 2023 been so far? You will see it in the Great Time Machine episode. I was actually very tempted to run it before the show here, but I figured it would be a lot more fun to do Perry Players. Stupid thing is jumping all around on me. Do I want some tortellini? Sure. The hot dog I had for dinner, Oscar Mayer hot dog, was not exactly filling. I want to be like you when I grow up. What advice will you give someone who wants to be an archivist of odd things? Give up any hope of ever getting married. Get used to being poor. Get used to being unpopular. You have to have a screw loose to do what I do. Let's see. Since I am thinking about it here, I'm going to mute the microphone in front of the TV. That seems like that might be a good idea. Do I have a PS2 to play Time Crisis on the CRT? I have a PS2, but it's dodgy. Some games it'll take, some games it won't, and it doesn't seem to have anything to do with the condition. I don't know what the deal is with that thing. Will there be another local ads or PSA episode coming next season? If I have enough for it, if I have the material. I'm always getting people sending me stuff, and sometimes I wind up with too much of the same thing. Let's see here. Any new music, Ben? Yes, 2 songs that I'm working on. Songs, instrumental pieces. If back in school when I studied music, if you will, they would get mad at me if I called an instrumental piece a song. So I'm supposed to just call it a piece. But yes, 2, and whether or not they make the final cut for the archive soundtrack is anyone's guess. What do I do when I'm not making archive? There's, alas, not a whole lot of time where I am not making archive. I guess fixing stuff up around archive. I've got a concrete leak that needs redone. I didn't do a very good job with it the first time. Yeah, working on, being, Mr. Fix-It, I guess. Do I have any advice for TBCs? Yeah, hybrid TBC frame sync generator, so everything stays in sync. You could wind up transferring the material to your computer and you think it's in sync, but you try and edit it, trim off the end or whatever, minor editing needs done. You render the file and forget it. The whole thing is just totally out of whack. How is the archive planning to spend this coming summer? As I already said, I intend to go back to Minnesota and take another crack at the AM stereo thing. Anything new from Peter Lemongello? He seems to put, all jokes aside, he seems to put stuff out on kind of this weirdly steady little basis. So if you watch him enough, not much of it is worth hearing anymore, to be honest. Whatever his worth hearing stuff was back in the 70s. Hey Benny, how do you find so much stuff in Goodwill? Yeah, it hasn't been for a while yet. Let's see, Gino. Hey Gino. Our friend Gino Cuddy, who's hijacked archive at least once and has appeared in episode 200 and has helped me out elsewhere. And he's got a blog, if I may plug it, if he doesn't mind that. Yeah, if you're into old B westerns, he's got, what's the name of that website? I'm blanking on it. They do all sorts of written movie reviews. But yeah, really kind of one of the great experts of Poverty Row, if you're into that part of Hollywood in that period, 30s, 40s, 50s. Anyway, any chance on covering Hollywood home theater for another round of cult VHS labels with a little winky emoji? If I find info. So Hollywood home theater was this early public domain, I hate to say crap house, because there was actually a certain level of quality to it. In the early 80s, and the guy that spearheaded it, for all intents and purposes, was named David Ichikawa, I believe. And when they would do like a silent movie, like Metropolis, the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, he would do his own scores, original scores, and very, very eerie synthesizer scores. I actually have a tape that's moldy of theirs that I need to clean. How's it hanging? What is it that Jim Carrey said in that movie? Low droopy and to the left. Have I ever heard of the TV Buddy? Another Viewmaster interactive sort of thing. No, I haven't. I do have some sort of thing from Mattel. Some sort of thing that's supposed to work with action figures or something, like Battle Vision or something. Best guitarist, John McLaughlin or Steve Hackett? I love them both. Depends on what you're after. McLaughlin for pyrotechnics, Hackett for more classically minded stuff. Who was my favorite 70s relief pitcher? Tug McGraw. If only because that's the only one I can think of. Any luck with my Centrex 8-track player? Mine's still wonky. So is mine. I need to either replace it or find somebody to take a look at it. I think I've isolated the problem. It's somewhere in the Dolby circuitry, the Dolby noise reduction. What's the most recently released album you've listened to, Ben? Oh, geez, it's been like a year or two now, but Jeff Skunk Baxter put out his first solo album finally. He was in Steely Dan, the first 3 albums, and in the Doobie Brothers, the Michael McDonald era Doobie Brothers, and he finally put out an album last year, I guess it was. So that was the only new one I've had. Everything else may be new to me, but not that. When did the Blues Brothers take the stage? The day John Belushi rises from the grave. Will the next season start with another How I Spent My Summer episode? Yes, it will be that AM stereo thing. Other than thrifting in Minnesota last summer, have you considered trying thrift shops in the towns across Southeast South Dakota, or even going to rummage sales? I went down to Canton my first year here, and I haven't done anything like that since. There just isn't a lot of time that I can get away. Summer is about as close as I get to having the opportunity. Let's see, any word on a future Archive Riffs episode? Maybe one over the summer break if I can get one together, but I'm not holding my breath. This Quasar Great Time Machine project is just so awful. I've been on this for like a month now. This has been one of the worst projects I've ever, undertaken. And yeah, Encore Enterprises. Yeah, you told me you were not going to make it. I just didn't put it together there. Yeah, nobody knows what I'm talking about. Any more weather alerts? Actually, one happened while I was shooting the documentary, and I partially got it on camera, so you'll have something to look forward to next week. But no footage or anything like that, if that's what you meant. Let's see here. Would I ever do another more TV-centric episode? Maybe pay-per-view, and you're going to cover Bandits and Bodyguards, right? I've never heard of that. Maybe that's for the best. It seems like I always do TV-centric episodes. I'd say a solid half of them that I do are TV or tangentially TV-related. Going thrifting again soon. I kind of already answered that. I have like 2/3 of a thrifting episode in the can, so to speak, right now. When is the next rip-off LP planned? I assume you mean record rip-offs. That would be presumably the next one after the AM stereo thing. Now, I may have to put an extra week between those first 2 episodes of next season, But yeah, usually when I do record ripoffs, it's that second full-blown proper episode of the new season. So the way things are going this year, that would put it in the middle of August. And I'm really hoping I might be able to finally do the record ripoffs at the movies. I make no guarantees. Joe Howe, Ben, have you ever seen the commercial "I ship my pants" at Kmart? No, and maybe that's for the best. Let's see, the Hunter Persian. Also, will the archive soundtrack be published on CD or will it be digital only? At the very least, CD. So I guess eventually I might just put it out there, see what kind of response I get. If, excuse me, if there's the demand for like a vinyl issue or a cassette issue, if I think I can at least break even on it, get enough pre-orders, so to speak, that might happen. But yes, at the very least, for hard copies, it will get a CD issue. Can I do an episode on superstations? I don't know there's much to say about that, if there's much to say about that. Quick little weird brain moment. Growing up in Denver, KWGN was a superstation at one point. Was all over like the central west part of the country. Excuse me while I take a quick drink here. I've seen a video on TED in the US. It looks like a nightmare. Okay, that's Jesse. Yeah, is that the Databits video? I know I've seen somebody who imported one. Techmoan did it, I'm pretty sure. I know somebody over in Europe did. That was a while ago. Who is my favorite game show host? Oh, Mark Summers comes to mind. Let's see here. I got a singer study mate at Goodwill last week. Ever fooled with one of those? I don't even know what that is. Let's see. Have I ever listened to the Kmart cassette tapes by Mark Davis? Like the YouTube channel, I think. Somebody posted a bunch of old Kmart tapes from the early 90s, and I have listened to them. I actually played one or two songs from it on, or I didn't. I gave them to Sergey to play if you're into archive mythology. Let's see. What's been my biggest challenge to produce for archive, and were you proud of it? Well, as I've mentioned, this Great Time Machine thing's been a real problem. As for like satisfying ones, the last couple Halloween episodes, just because they're so off the beaten path and so different and involved, really. Also, History of VHS. That was, I was able to space that out at least. Have I ever thought of trying to import a VHD system and or any titles for it? If the price were right, yeah. When am I going to... Oh, dear. Stupid YouTube chat. Ugh. When am I going to get on the HF bands, Ben? High-frequency bands. I haven't even done any ham radio stuff, really, since I've been here. I had it on once during a power outage. There was a really widespread power outage last year, and I was kind of trying to listen for anybody, just talking about it on the airwaves, and nobody ever did. There is a radio club around here, but I'd never be there, would be the thing. And all I've got is that handheld transceiver for ham radio stuff. I need to get the CB stuff going again, but I need an antenna for that. I got rid of my antenna when I moved here because back in Denver you could go to the thrift store at almost any given time and buy a CB antenna. Haven't seen one at all here. The only ones I've seen have been from like at the truck stop. If you go to, I guess it's Love's in this part of the country. That's the big one here. Or Cubbies. Do you ever think we'll run out of stuff to archive, look back on? I probably will. Any word on the next local television episode? As I kind of mentioned with local commercials, it's just finding the material. I don't have enough for an episode of anything right now. It's always me just kind of building stuff up. I keep little private playlists in my channel where I just kind of build it up, and when I feel like I've got enough, I start going through it, and hopefully, I have enough to go for an episode and also not get nailed by the YouTube bots. Let's see. Any singles transferred to CD? 1976 to 78 Bruce Woolley rarities. No. I don't do a whole lot of singles, just in general. Unemployed again. Should I restart shooting videos? Mike. Yeah, bring back Movie Explorer. Film Explorer. That show. I used to watch that when you did that. Let's see here. Gino, I'd riff a movie with you, Ben. Yeah, I wouldn't mind it, but I don't know how we'd ever make that work out timing-wise. I have so many projects going on right now. If you saw the last channel update video I did. Let's see here. Have I ever worked a part-time job while doing archive, or has this been a full-time gig since 2012? I was working real jobs, so to speak, as late as 2017. I worked hotel AV. I worked at various venues doing stage crew stuff. So yeah, I've been kind of a behind-the-scene rat most of my professional life. Let's see here. Any infomercials you would like to feature on a future episode? The Red Devil Girl from the 90s is one that sticks out to me. Yeah, there's one, but I don't know if YouTube would frown on it. It's meant to be a self-defense thing, marketed towards women, early 90s, and it's basically just a glorified police whistle. But yeah, I don't know if YouTube would take too kindly to that one. Let's see here. The breaking news episode is one of your best ever. During the World War II segment, you mentioned NBC's Red and Blue networks. Would I do an episode on the history? I don't know. I'd have to. That would be one thing I'd be kind of researching from scratch, because I've never really looked into it. My knowledge of commercial radio is not that great. Let's see here. Will I ever attend one of the yearly CED workshops in Indianapolis? Probably not. I don't foresee myself transferring much farther than Minnesota. Maybe someday I'll get a little farther out, but at this point I just kind of need to be closer to home. Like, I can just split back home when I need to. I won't go any deeper into that. David Hoffman, show us your face. I don't know if you're that David Hoffman, but it's kind of shown up already here and there on archive if you know where to look. Let's see here. Dilly Mackey, do you have any intention of doing a semi-quinticentennial fever episode in the year 2026? Probably not, but we'd have to see what kind of weird gear we get, any kind of weird ephemera. Even then, it helped, that bicentennial was 1976, so I could look at that very retroactively. Let's see here. An idea for a future episode would be schools, TV programs, Open University and College content, UK, TV intervals, interludes, filler programs, and Franken FM stations, US. Yeah, I've been kind of hearing about wanting cable in the classroom and that sort of thing. I feel like I'm like halfway down the list here. See, this is the point where you can just go off and do other things and not have to worry about watching unless you just really dig staring at a test pattern. But then again, that is the best show. That's my favorite show. It was back when they used to air it, and even if you see it at all anymore, it's never 4x3 like it should be. Let's see here. Let's see, the Hunter Persian. It's likely the Blue Bottom CDs. They're known for being finicky. So for the PS2 stuff, okay. So it may not necessarily be my machine. Let's see here. Got to replace that PS2 laser. Okay, I don't know how to do that. I'd have to look into that. I tried to replace the laser on a CD player a couple of years ago on Archive and failed miserably because you don't want Ben handling a soldering iron. I've tried to do it, and I've tried to learn, and it never seems to happen. Let's see here. If you had to upgrade your VHS capturing method, what would you do? My Dazzle DVC100 has been the best so far, and with deinterlacing, compared to some cheap Chinese crap I've had over the years. I don't know. I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. I like what I have now because I can get an uncompressed as you can get stream for analog stuff. So my Digital 8 camcorder method is still my favorite, outdated as it is. Let's see here. Do I think I'll ever make an episode about the Weather Star and other cable weather head-end type things? I've looked into it, and it's beyond my pay grade, so to speak. There's people, that have homebrew versions, current versions, almost like what is that? When you have a virtual, when you play old video games, doing that sort of thing. I think there are people far more qualified than me to do that one. If I did, it would be more of a comedy thing, I think. Let's see here. And if you send any super chats, just bear with me. I'll see them when I hit them. I am so far back. Anybody that's seen me do these live streams knows that I take a while to get through the list. I don't remember, but have you done anything on teletext? And have I been able to find anything teletext related on VHS Betamax? Yes. One of the first episodes was teletext, way back in season 1. I tried to, if you look up the episode I did on the Keyfax unit, we had our American version of CFAX for a few years on TBS from like 83 to 85, something like that. And I tried to recover that data, and I couldn't even get the Keyfax to work. But even then, it needs to be a really good, strong signal. So somebody would have had to have caught it on SVHS or something like that, and that didn't happen until after all that had been discontinued. So I don't know of any way to decorrupt, if you will, that data. Have there been any tornadoes this season in Archive HQ? No, and I hope not. I've had my fill since I've lived here. Let's see. I'm a ham radio nerd. Have you dabbled back into ham radio? I've already answered that. No, unfortunately, no. Let's see here. Is this chocolate or mint or both? Well, you'd have to know what the overall thing is. Is it ice cream or is it something far more sinister? That's Gamer 1990. Let's see. Am I familiar with Bruce Woolley's pre-1979 music output before the Camera Club? I'm not even familiar with Camera Club. The only club I can think of offhand would be like Culture Club. Let's see here. Pam Christensen, it's feast and famine with thrifting. Ain't that the truth? And it has been famine, not just this year, but it was famine last year too. Let's see here. EASCEC. Benny, do you have any plans for a defunct cable companies episode? Not really. I don't know what I'd say about it. And didn't they all just wind up getting consolidated anyway? Isn't it kind of like the record labels and the movie studios? It's like the same three people that own it all. Any chance of doing an episode about DVD audio albums or DVHS if the price is right? DVHS is the final chapter of history of VHS. DVD audio, I'd like to, but one, I have no way of accurately reproducing it in a YouTube video, and two, there's the copyright thing, because it's all major albums, you know. Actually, early on, a viewer sent me a copy of Moody Blues' Days of Future Past, which was kind of interesting to listen to. I've got a few of those. I actually bought a Allman Brothers at Fillmore East when I was in college, and as it turned out, it was just the quad mix, the quadraphonic mix. And I can't do quad, before you ask. I have no means of reproducing that. And I'd need the gear too. Remember that 70s show? Yeah, I didn't like it. And I heard somewhere in the last few days that one of the actors is going to prison now, something like that. Let's see here. Do I still plan on covering Scimitar? I suppose I should. I feel like I'm kind of getting preempted by Found Footage Festival on that. They've got, I think, all the Scimitar titles, and every week, I only get to see them occasionally, but every time I have watched Found Footage Fest do their stream, their VCR party, they always do something Scimitar related. So yeah, I almost feel like I'm getting the rug pulled out from under me on that one. Cinema Crazed, that's what I was thinking of, Gino. Yes, thank you. Check out Cinema Crazed for all your esoteric movie review joys. FCN, have you ever considered doing a cult VHS distributor segment on Magnum Entertainment? They notoriously tried to release Bette Midler's The Throne, The Divine Mr. J. I can't say I've heard of that one. I might have some of that stuff. I need to do another public domain one sometime, certainly. I don't know about the regular cult stuff, like Something Weird and some of those ones that have the kind of cult following to Sinister Cinema. Jane Ralph or Annie Haslam? Annie Haslam, definitely. Canadian Ben, I should fire off a decent 8-track player to you. Yeah, if you've got one with Dolby, let me know. That's been one thing I've been kind of wanting. I have some tapes that need the decoding. I mean, I could run my outboard TIAC Dolby B unit through it, but I'd have to completely recalibrate it. I've got that thing explicitly calibrated for my reel-to-reel. Let's see here. Remember album FM soundtrack 1978? I've seen it. I've seen the movie. I actually have a VHS copy of the movie FM, but I never bothered with the soundtrack because I think I've got all the songs off it, if I'm not mistaken. It's because it's kind of like just classic rock radio's greatest hits almost. How do I feel about Kate Bush finally getting her due? I think she's already kind of had it. I guess it's just a little more mainstream now. I think she maybe her influence kind of outdid her commercial appeal here in the States, but I think she's got the respect. Yeah, I heard clips of that Skunk Baxter album. Pretty darn good. Yeah, Ladies from Hell is absolutely terrific. And that's what they would call the Scottish soldiers in their kilts, running over the moors and stuff. The Ladies from Hell. Little joke. Any more KLAKAM sound-alike videos? If you mean Sergey, Sergey will be back. Record ripoffs will be back, but I can really only do that stuff once a year. It just takes too long, and it would be very repetitive too. That's always kind of one of the tricky things. I almost see it like doing a Halloween episode or a Christmas episode. It's that once a year holiday-ish thing. It's just not a holiday. It's a holiday I made up. Thoughts on Yuli John Roth era of Scorpions? I own exactly two Scorpions albums, and I can't even think of that name offhand. I've got, the one with Rock You Like a Hurricane. I forget what it's called. And I've got the one with Wind of Change on it as well. Both thrift store finds. Ben, do I play video games? Well, I just did. Casually, not really. If I do, it's rare and it's always old stuff. My history of video games seems to end more or less with like the 3DO. Let's see here. Will I revisit TV sign-offs in a future archive episode? I've kicked around the idea. I have kicked around the idea. Why you no divide gams? Oh, that's a throwback. 'Cause I'm not that kind of girl. Name the episode. That's a deep cut. Let's see. Would I do an episode on the various types of test patterns shown across US, UK? I already did. Like in season 2, there's a test pattern episode. Let's see. Have I found any recent EAS Amber Alerts on TV? I've been around when they've come up, but I don't generally have the means of hitting the record button quite that quickly. I only have my cloner box hooked up to one TV, and I'm usually not in that room. I am at the moment, actually, but yeah. Am I going to do a cult distributor video on Lightning Video? Lightning Video was part of Vestron, so that's covered in the Vestron one. When am I going to do Ben's Junk? I'm always doing Ben's Junk. It gets very sad after a while. What was the best thrift store find I ever had? I've been asked this a few times now. I can think of a few. My first Betamax deck, which is my industrial one, and there is a Ben's Junk, speaking of Ben's Junk on it. The SLO 325. The tuner timer unit for the U-matic deck was a thrift store find. Just in the last year or two, the Wolverine film scanner, that was one. I scored a copy back in Denver ages ago of the soundtrack to National Lampoon's Vacation on vinyl. That's, as far as I know, has never been on CD, at least legally. Let's see, I miss laser karaoke. Yeah, I miss them too, but YouTube was just giving me way too many problems for that. Let's see, Tookie Dookie, have you thought about doing a tier list of ranking worst public domain cartoon VHS art? That's not really my department. There's more some bloggers out there that kind of do that. J Gibbons 513, what is my opinion of classic Motown music, 59 to 72? I think it goes beyond 72. I've got plenty of favorites from after that, but yeah, I've got a fair amount of Motown kicking around Archive HQ. My my Stevie Wonder albums all live not too far off screen from the set, where I do the box segments. Let's see, was I ever into professional wrestling? No, I've never been into professional wrestling at all. Just never been my thing. In theory, you'd think I would, for like all the culty movies and stuff that I've watched, but no, it's never interested me. Let's see here. What am I drinking? Just kind of whatever I had in the fridge. I've got like half a water bottle and a quarter of a bottle of Coca-Cola, that is. Nothing alcoholic. That hasn't been for a very long time now. Which reminds me to take a drink. Have I heard from Rick Klein from Fuzzy Memories lately? Not really, but We have our occasional exchanges on Facebook and stuff, or in the comments section. I mean, there's nothing, no bad blood or anything. We just kind of cross paths here and there. Even after taking a drink, my voice is cracking. You'd think that puberty never ended for me. Or any speech problems. Let's see. WTBS was the original superstation, correct? I believe so. I think it was the first local channel to go at least semi-national on cable systems. Let's see. Am I interested in digital Betacam at all, Ben? To play around with, I suppose, but I haven't really sought a deck. Speaking of Betacam, I dug out all my tapes, my Betacam tapes to test in that SP deck. So I actually have a stack, if I may pick up the camera a bit, on the top shelf right next to the deck, and behind it is a box I flea bait of 2 SP tapes, so I can finally test that end of things. There, that was the first movement that we've had in, what, like 45 minutes? Let's see here. Will I do something about the VHS releases in South Korea or the V2000 format? I'm not sure what you mean about VHS releases in South Korea. V2000 was covered as much as it's ever going to be from me in a fairly early episode I did. I think I called it A Nice Pair or something to that effect. Subtitle Philips N Series and V2000. Is there an ABC affiliate in Steubenville, Ohio? I have no idea. And once again, YouTube is giving me trouble with my scrolling, so let me try and pick back up. Ben, do you need help? If so, can I help? I have my days where I could use an in-person assistant, but it's just not practical right now. Yeah, all the other guys, they're streamers, they got like friends and family, right there. Let's see here. How does a Betamax to a Panasonic TBC DVD recorder work? If it's composite video, you just plug it in as normal. Do I have a smart TV? The TV that's in the shot there is a smart, if you will, TV. I've never reviewed it because I don't see a point in it. It was whatever the common model at Best Buy was in 2018 when I moved here. The very first episode I did when I moved here was me just showing, like, one of my old TVs died, my big TV died before I moved, and I just held off on buying a new one, that sort of thing. Let's see. Will I do an episode of the massive network television affiliate switches that occurred back in the mid-90s? I don't know if that's enough for a whole episode. Let's see. Any chance of a short analysis on the Hello News jingle? I don't even know what that is. Have I figured out what I'm doing? Yeah, answering questions. So thank you to everyone that's sitting here just listening to me rattle off answers, bad answers to questions. Sometimes bad questions. But it wouldn't be archive otherwise, would it? What made me move from Colorado to South Dakota? Several reasons. One, I didn't like living in my old neighborhood. When it becomes kind of a normal occurrence for the police to put your neighborhood on lockdown because somebody robbed the neighborhood Wells Fargo again, and there's some dude running around parking lots in people's backyards and stuff. It doesn't exactly, enthuse you. Otherwise, family-related, cost-related, it's cheaper to live out here than in Denver. Way cheaper. Let's see here. Sweet gigs. Always wanted to work as a stagehand myself. I wouldn't be too sure about that. That can be a really crappy job at times. Craig Turner, do I have modern technology like 4K Blu-ray? Yes, I do. Underneath, I have no way of zooming on the iPhone, but yeah, bottom shelf, that's a 4K Blu-ray, and then above that is VHS. And of course, the AV rack with all the stuff I use kind of on a regular basis, like Laserdisc and whatever else. And I knocked the microphone off, but oh well, because I had that turned off anyway. The one that was in front of the monitor. Let's see here. Would YouTube take kindly to that Phantom Fury infomercial if you covered it? Phantom Fury. I can't place that one offhand. Ever consider covering the home video producer software on the Commodore 64? From Ben. Classical Gas Emissions, great website. Visit Classical Gas Emissions sometime. Very, very funny album reviews and things like that. I've never even heard of it. If you've got a lead on it, I've got the C64, and I know you do too. Am I ever going to lose the box gimmick? No, because it's part of the brand, if you will, at this point. Now, having said that, I've only ever played live once, so to speak. I opened for Found Footage Fest about 5 years ago. And I did not do the box for that. So, if I have a reason to perform in public, I will not do the box. I'll just turn off the lights on stage, just to be a jerk. That was an interesting one, trying to explain that. I mean, the Found Footage Fest guys got it, but trying to explain that to the venue owner when they came through Denver not long before I left, they were like, you want a what? Huh? Does anyone recognize you when you're in public? Nobody has ever recognized me in public, ever. Let's see here. When I consider making an episode based on slow TV programs shown in the overnight hours, such as The Burning Log in the Fire, I guess if there's enough of them to discuss, there's kind of an interesting story behind the Yule log that runs here in America on usually at least one station in each market. That was shot in like 1963 or something, and then the film got messed up and they had to redo it in like 66. It's I'm sure I'm getting the years wrong, but there is kind of a interesting enough story there. Let's see, I've only caught up to the Cable in the Classroom stuff. That's how slow I am. Have I ever considered joining the Sith? From Darth Vader. And unfortunately, I'm going to lose my geek card for this, but that's well beyond my grasp of Star Wars lore. You're going to think I'm lying when I say this. I have seen one Star Wars movie in its entirety, the 1977 one. I've only seen bits and pieces of the other two old ones, and I never bothered with any of the, if you will, reboot sort of ones. Let's see here. Not sure if I asked this but have I watched Knick Knacks? It's not ringing any bells. That might have been after my time as far as Nickelodeon goes. I've heard of it. Do I like 4K stuff? Yeah, I've got a few of the DVDs now that have turned out quite well for the for older stuff. Like I bought Black Christmas last year when that got reissued from 1974. I actually, and sometimes it doesn't even matter. I bought the Halloween on the Donald Pleasance one from the late 70s, Michael Myers. And you might as well just stick with a regular DVD or Blu-ray on that one. I've got Suspiria on 4K, the original. Let's see, super chat from Solo Dolo 84, $50. Wow, thank you. Longtime fan of the channel, spent many days editing videos with your work in the background. Keep doing your thing, brother. Much appreciated. Well, thank you very much. Let's see here. Would I consider an episode on the Personix Custom Cassette Company from 1987 to 1982? I can't even place that. Is that the one where you would tell them what songs you wanted on it, or is that where you recorded your own? Let's see here. Was there ever an OA episode about the history of satellite TV? No. Satellite stuff has happened on Archive, but I haven't done one explicitly about, like, C-band. I've got a couple of videotapes of wild feed footage, though, but I haven't had any reason to dust it off, so to speak. Let's see here. Ben, do you travel? Not really. I've never been much of a traveler. Back in my music days, like in the mid-2000s, I kind of tried to undertake like a tour of sorts, like up and down the Front Range of Colorado, and I just hated it. I do not travel well. And like during that period, or if I had to go somewhere, if I got sent somewhere like for work, I'd be stuck at the freaking Motel 6, in the really seedy part of town, and I hated it. Can I do an episode about IPTV? I can't even think of what that is offhand. Do I ever buy any dual disc format discs? Like the old music ones from the mid-2000s? If I have any, they're thrift store finds, and I can't think of any. In addition to doing an episode about Scimitar, would you do a VHS vault on the Vitsy tapes? I don't even know what that is. Of course, if it's VHS vaults, it needs to be riffable. Let's see, old equals cool, $20 super chat. Thank you for that. And thanks for the years of laughs and historical insight, Mr. Minot. You've introduced me to a lot of cool music, TV shows, and films. Enjoy your trip to Minnesota and keep the box. Yeah, the box, well, if it falls apart on me, I might have to replace it. That's the thing, like, whenever the day comes where I do the last Archive episode, am I going to have to give that thing like a Viking funeral or something? If you know what that is. Why are we watching a test pattern and not your face? Because it's Oddity Archive. Good Lord. When going through old VHS tapes, have you ever found anything that would be considered lost media? Not just VHS, but any format. And yes, there's a show that I found like 3 minutes of while working on the Quasar thing. I forget what, like Menlo and the Magic Machine or something to that effect. I looked it up. I guess it was kind of a somewhat beloved kids show for a little while in the late 70s, and I looked it up online and I only found like a few minutes of it. So after the Quasar episode drops, that'll wind up on Archive Annex, I guess. Let's see. Mike, by the way, probably won't be bringing back the Movie Explorer on account of dealing with Content ID. Yeah, I hear ya. Plus, my current PC doesn't recognize CD-ROM drives for some reason. Really, really cheap CD-ROM drives, external USB ones, tend to work well for me for some strange reason. Canadian Ben, I think I have 3 units with Dolby collecting dust. I'll get back to you. Okay, well, let me know. We can work something out. And speaking of traveling, I will make it up to Manitoba one day. It's not that much farther than South Dakota and Minnesota. Do I like Ice Spice, Ben? I don't even know what that is. Boy, you're throwing all sorts of stuff that I thought I was pretty hip, but I guess I'm not. Gino, we should collab on a video on Madison Entertainment VHS box sets. You touched on it in your previous episode, but an in-depth look at them would be intriguing. I'm not sure what I'd say about that. About the content, that is, because they're just straight public domain tapes. There's really not much of anything too unique. The only unique thing I ever found was on one of the Chaplin sets, and it's on Annex, of an episode of a syndicated show where they took old Charlie Chaplin shorts from the Max Sennett era, so all public domain back then, and somebody editing it a bit and doing narration. And it's the only episode of that I've ever seen, but that's the only real unique thing I've ever hit upon on a Madison VHS or DVD. Let's see, new Starcade fan. I was that kid who watched the Teletext Community Service channel with smooth jazz and easy listening in the background and the Weather Channel. I would do that too. I used to watch Preview Guide when I was a kid, or the Weather Channel. But they don't do that on Weather Channel anymore, at least not when I try and watch it. Funnily enough, back in Denver, not long before I left, when I would watch the Weather Channel, they'd still do those segments. And every single time, for some strange reason, it was Ozark Mountain Daredevils, Jackie Blue. Of all things, that's not a Weather Channel song, but if you can imagine, Jackie Blue, that 70s hit playing. Let's see here. Too many interests. Do you have enough new discs for another DiscoVision Dead Sides video? I could, but my method of uncovering the sides has not changed. But I've got a stack of DiscoVision discs that I need to uncover. Thanks, Ben. Been a long-time fan, and I wish I could donate tonight, but I got hurt on the job and can't work for a few weeks. Ouch. We'll get you on Patreon as soon as I can. Don't worry about it. Do not worry about that. Thank you. Let's see. I probably should be naming people as I go along here. I'm showing how professional I am here. Old equals cool. Thoughts on Lou Reed's body of work and/or the Velvet Underground? Well, my singing voice tended to get compared to Lou Reed, and I heard Lou a bit growing up. Actually, one of the music videos that freaked me out as a kid was the one for No Money Down. But it got me to go and pick up the Velvet Underground albums and start digging through that. And that first Velvet's album scared me to death when I first heard it. When I first heard European Sun and the glass breaks and the feedback starts, I'd never heard anything like that. I was like 15. Way scarier than anything Marilyn Manson ever did. Have you ever heard about EVR, the CBS home format that used film and released in 1970? I have. I have never seen one anywhere at any price, and I believe it's Databits has a video on it. Ben, do you play Xbox? Don't own an Xbox. I don't, or do I? I bought something on, I bought a Wii on one of the thrifting episodes. You can tell I don't think about that stuff a lot. Let's see, Oddity Archive on various digital OTA radio formats. I can't even think of what that means. Record Hound, would I like a minty 45 of One Tin Soldier by Original Cast? It's Canadian, so it's vinyl, not styrene. Nah, you can hang on to that, but thanks for the offer, though. Because I listen to Coven periodically, is that it? Let's see, R66F plays games. Ben, would you consider doing an episode on early satellite TV, both C and KU band? I think I kind of addressed that. I guess if I found the info, I feel like that's another thing that would be kind of better covered by somebody that actually like lived it. The Bizarre. Hey Ben, it's the Reina brothers from The Bizarre. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, I hope you guys are doing well. They did a full-length documentary on the Max Headroom incident a few years ago. Victor Kawa, what's your oldest piece of AV equipment or storage media in your collection? Like you mean an actual piece of media? Because I've got some Victrola discs kicking around. But like I don't have any gear, I don't have one of the old hand cranked gramophones or anything. Oldest video thing I've got is a Sony CV2000 2100, so potentially as old as 65. I've got a tube-driven reel-to-reel that I think I picked up on a thrifting episode. That's probably from the late 50s. Part of me wants to send that to Shango 066 just to piss him off. Am I on? You're actually live. Wow. Derek Roberts. Live-ish. Once you factor in the delay, the 30-second-ish delay. Do I have an iPad, Ben? Yes, I do. That's actually what was running the Perry players before we started. Favorite MST3K episode? Ooh. I can't think of one in particular, but I have some favorites. I love Girl in Gold Boots. I love Mitchell. Overdrawn at the Memory Bank. Incredibly Strange Creatures, the one with the really long title, the Ray Dennis Steckler movie. Pod People, of course, that's a classic. Yeah, picking just one, that's a tough one, though. If you want to go into riff tracks, I'd probably say like Guy from Harlem is probably my favorite riff tracks. And bear with me, the chat is... YouTube's getting weird with the chat. Again, it just jumped me into some random spot. By the way, many Motown 45s were alternate mixes to album or stereo cuts. Yeah, I've learned that the hard way. There's different versions, like I have Supreme's Greatest Hits, a modern one, and the box set, and they kind of mix and match. I've always wondered, what would you call your worst archive video? There was one I did that I basically just had to throw together at one point, and it was on like the Apple Newton and something else, and it was supposed to be a Ben's Junk, but I just needed the episode really quickly, and I just slapped it together in like 3 or 4 days. Ultimate cover version is better than the original, in your opinion? Blinded by the Light, Manfred Mann, as opposed to Bruce Springsteen. They took that into a totally new place. Otherwise, some of the more obvious ones, like All Along the Watchtower, Jimi Hendrix versus Bob Dylan, and I love Dylan's version. And you should hear me swallowing real good and loud because I'm wearing a lavalier mic and drinking Coke. Let's see here. Have I ever discussed El Cassette? My dad remembers that. Jeffrey Gray. I'd like to. I have yet to see an El Cassette at any price, anywhere. And even then, it's one of those things that when I do one of the really expensive archivisms, it has to be something that I know I'm going to use again. Something I can add to the arsenal, so to speak. And that would be kind of on the border of something I'd ever use again. Like, at least with I've been harping on the Quasar this whole stream. That would be something that I, finding more tapes at least, but, I could see myself using again, revisiting as needed. So it tends to be more like major video formats or even semi-major ones. Victor Cowo, what was the one movie from any era of time and from genre you consider to be the worst? Worst movie I've ever seen. I hated Starship Troopers from the late 90s. I might tick off a few of the nerd population, the geek population with that one, but talk about filmmaking by committee. And as for my iPhone here, if you see bumping and stuff, obviously there's no steady cam in it, and it's on the world's cheapest tripod. And this whole episode has been kind of brought to you by Walmart. It's on a $10 Walmart tripod. Because of you, I fell in love with Missy Paulson. I keep hoping I hear from her at some point. I think I tracked her down, but that would just be so weird for me to try and say, hey, I covered you on Archive. This weirdo sits behind a box on the internet. Let's see here. Do I use TikTok? Craig Turner. No, I have no interest in using TikTok at all. I have days where Facebook and Twitter are more than I can handle. Let's see, Audio Dude 5171, more musical instrument isms. I just haven't found any cheap weird instruments lately, but as they're found. 2011 Cards fan, have you ever thought about putting some of the old VHS tapes you have reviewed onto the Annex? Yeah, there's stuff from VHS vaults on there, pretty recent too. Or if you're truly a diehard, Bunk Management is on there. How would the world be different if they had more than one Blu-ray player with a VCR? Depends on how they designed it. Kyle J. McElravy, SNL or Mad TV? Well, I like old SNL. I like SNL up through the Norm Macdonald era. But after that, I can't stand an SNL, and I never cared much for Mad TV. Super chat here. Jason Eager, $11 in the New Zealand currency. Would you consider doing an episode on 1970s cable channels pre-satellite, doing transmission via microwave towers only, and or technical faults with microwave transmission? Stuff like that, because of the age, it's an issue of finding footage, because it would be no good without the footage, and it would probably have to be off-air footage, and that's very rare. Really, once you get farther back than 1980 or so. Even though there was stuff out there, it's the survival rate isn't great, and people tended to chop that stuff out. D.S. Holmstrom, how is Sioux Falls versus where you lived before? Well, I was born out here, and I've visited here a million times. Most of my family is out here. I've been here for every holiday you could imagine. I've been out here at the summer, all different times of year. So in spite of that, there was still a little culture shock. I really thought I was prepared, but it took me a while to adjust. And I still have my days where my Denverite shows, so to speak. Would Australian radio jingles from the late 70s, 80s be of interest for an episode? I'd have to hear some first. The only one I can think of is one of the local commercial episodes for some restaurant in Australia that had kind of a cute theme. Let's see here. Victor Cowo again. Have you ever thought of doing episodes where you just talk about interesting topics that would be too small for an archive episode? Well, when I started doing Ben's junks, that was kind of the idea, stuff that I thought wouldn't make for much of a whole episode, and also just to be more casual. But yeah, once upon a time, very early on, I threw around something called the Archive Minute, which I never pursued, but it would have been a bit of a parody of the old CBS bicentennial minutes. Look those up. And it's too much. It would be a lot of work for me to do like 2-minute videos that I just don't think would get watched. I think most people that watch Archive like the more long form stuff. Let's see here. Sorry for subjecting you to the Gene Tracy curse from Abo Magunios Entertainment. Yeah, I keep finding those stupid tapes. I've got a stack of them now, actually. I feel like I'm going to be obligated to cover them, but I don't know how I'm going to navigate that with YouTube. Even if it's not profane, you know, some keyboard warrior or something I could just see would have massive heartburn with it. Joe Howe, Ben, would you ever consider using a car stereo in your house? I did. I've never really thought about it. The closest I've thought about it is, like, I'd love to get my hands on a Muntz 4-track. So kind of the precursor to the 8-track. And most of those were only for cars. So it's like I'd have to kind of do a little finagling to make it just work through my normal stereo. I think there were a couple of home units. Let's see here. Jason Eager. If you need more content from that time, how about promo feeds and other items after shutdown on early 80s cable channels? I've got some of that material, but I don't know what I'd ever say about it. And if I tried to discuss the gear that they used, I'd like to have the gear or access to it. Let's see here. Derek Roberts, can you explain to me what an iceberg is on YouTube videos? It's very sharp and it'll go through your screen. Otherwise, I think that's supposed to mean like above the water. An iceberg above the water is the part that people know about, and then the stuff underwater is more the cult deep cut stuff. I could be totally wrong about that, though. I am not great on the on that front. Keeping up with all these weird little YouTube trends. Let's see here. Matthew Lawrenson sent you $5 via GoFundMe. Probably worth about 5 cents with the exchange rate now, but every little bit helps. Yes, well, thank you. I am absolutely not going to turn my nose up at that. Channel Zero, do I know Alec from Technology Connections as a person at all? I know most YouTubers don't know each other. I'm just wondering. No, I've never had any contact with him. I've exchanged tweets with LGR a few times and Todd in the Shadows, and I've talked to Techmoan a couple of times. When I think of like real friendships that I've developed, I've chatted a little with some guys, but it's never really become anything that big. I mean, my closest friends are actually in the chat here. He's using his Classical Gas CGE name, but Ben is there, and Gino Cuddy is lurking in the comments. Those are more kind of my closest friends. Let's see. Kyle J. McElravy, AFHV, Bob Saget, or Tom Bergeron? Oh, America's Funniest Home Videos. Bob Saget's the only one I'm familiar with, so by default. Jason Eager, has Ben ever seen Go South and Go South 2 from New Zealand? Never even heard of it. Wilker Dinkles, if you hold a box in front of your face, everyone will recognize you. Yeah, and there'd have to be some sort of cutoff above the eyes when they're... Jerry Memestar, have you considered making an episode on Flipnote Studio? Never heard of it. Okay, Jason Eager. I think I get it. Is it like a real-time travelogue sort of thing? Okay, Jesse, Personics let you make a tape with chosen songs. Getting back to Personics. Okay, yeah, I knew it was one of the two. I haven't seen any of the tapes though. And even then, I wouldn't be able to really share it because it would be real hits. And that's another thing that always annoys me. Like, I'll find videotapes or audio cassettes from theme parks, amusement parks and stuff, where you get to like dance along in front of a green screen and some song is playing underneath it, but it's always the hit. So, like it'll be Meatloaf or somebody playing under it. Yeah, I've wanted to cover those on archive, but I know YouTube would just nail me to the wall if I tried. Noseman, when did you make the OA theme song? Also, been here since the theme song was Senses Working Overtime. It debuted on episode number 6, and it would have still been summer of 2012 when I recorded it. The final music career episode, that last one on Minot, has the story of Pavand and how it was recorded and all that. Kyle J. McElravy again. Do you like Impractical Jokers? Not really. I've only seen it once or twice. I never got into, Punk'd and any of that. Jess Hernandez. Have I ever visited LA? Nope. The closest I've ever gotten to LA is Sacramento. My grandparents lived out there, and they're both long gone now. Off this mortal coil, that is. No, not by my hand. I am obligated to do dark jokes periodically. Let's see here. Yes, that's what it's called. TKR Video Central. Marlowe and the Magic Movie Machine. Yes, that's the show. It's frustrating. I found like 4 minutes of it. GoFundMe for Ben to afford a boat to burn the box in when the day comes. Have to find me a little boat. Although, annoying thing about South Dakota, and it's why I used to go fishing in Colorado occasionally. This is where my Coloradan shows. Because in Colorado, when you go fishing, if you have a boat at all, if you go up in the mountains, it's just a little thing, just some cruddy little motorboat, and you just go out and you do it peacefully. Here, $60,000 boat, $10,000 stereo, ton of cheap domestic beer, the fish finder GPS and all that crap, and it just drives me nuts. Favorite thrift store? I used to, from Mike, the Ark back in Denver. It was a chain that's only in Colorado. I loved Ark. I miss Ark. Someday I'll have to visit Denver again, if only to do some sort of special thrifting thing. That's a long drive from Sioux Falls to Denver, though. That's about a 12-13 hour drive. Although I'd gain an hour going in, wouldn't I? Let's see. Mr. Black, you ever come up on a 1950s Zenith? I'm sure I have. I've probably seen radios and TVs from that period, but I don't collect that stuff, really. I have nowhere to put it. Okay, I'm seeing all this stuff on Ice Spice. I guess I didn't need to know about that. Jeffrey Gray, here's an idea. How about those unauthorized documentaries, cheap VHS labels put out in the 80s and 90s? Yeah, I've seen those, like for the Beatles and stuff. Yeah, that's not too bad an idea. I don't really have any of those, though. But I've seen those. I've got one. I've got one on the Three Stooges called The Stooges Story. It might be actually a scimitar. But yeah, that thing is junk. I've got one on DVD, actually. A very, very bad one on Jack Benny, on one of those public domain compilations. Richard the Fox, would you do an episode on Streamline Pictures? It was one of the first anime VHS distributors in the US. No, because I know nothing about anime. I have no interest in anime. I've never been able to watch it. It's just not my thing. Mike, I'm close to the Niles S&A Museum now, where they did a Chaplin event. Yeah, my friend Nigel he might still actually be out there right now working on that. He appeared on episode 200 briefly. He's a film historian friend. And a big time, pre-World War II pop music aficionado. Although I guess he really digs Kiss as well. There's an interesting mix. Eris Dren, something to that effect. Have you ever been interested in the development of early operating systems, Unix and CP/M plus DOS plus the C programming? I had a book on C++ once, but I couldn't make it out at all. I am not good at computers. So funnily enough, I've got, an old laptop kicking around and one I need parts for still, but because I've got some software I'd like to cover. But I think I'm qualified to discuss bits of software since I'm not really doing anything techie there. So yeah, I'm not going to be turning into LGR on you or anything. Let's see here. Yes, I'm 15 minutes behind. That sounds about right, but I'll catch up. I feel like I should read these. If everybody came out for Benny Boy to do a live stream, which just seems kind of strange, but yeah. And I'm wondering if I'm not coming to the end here. Jesse Coffee, would you be interested in covering the portable video formats that existed in my childhood? UMD for PSP, Game Boy Advance Video, Video Now. I've done Video Now. I did that. I think that was the first Ben's Junk I ever did. I have some movies on UMD, but no, I don't have the little handheld game thingy for it. Yeah, if I found it, if the price were right. And YouTube just jumped me around again. I'll catch up. What is the best local South Dakota restaurant, not a chain like Perkins, etc., that you've eaten at so far? What is the worst? Every time I visited before I moved here, I always, even though it's expensive, Minerva's, downtown Sioux Falls. Otherwise, I'm kind of a regular, semi-regular at least, at Frying Pan. Let's see here. Bugs3483, did you see the cartridge vision, I think you mean Cartrivision, demonstration video that Fuzzy Memories put out about a month ago? Yeah, I did. I think I even commented on it too. Tookie Dookie, how many gigabytes or terabytes, if applicable, do you store VHS and or analog video in general? Well, I don't have any drives that are explicitly for that. So, but when I buy external hard drives anymore, I buy them 5 terabytes at a time now. And I burn through them probably about 1 a season. $2 super chat from the void. Hey, Benny boy, your time has come. Well, there's nothing unnerving about that. Hopefully that's a reference to like a Halloween episode or something. Let's see, Mike. Oh, this is about the original or cover song being better than the original. Betty Davis Eyes. Yeah, I do have a soft spot for the Jackie DeShannon version, but if you've ever heard it, it's very, very, very different. Yep, Joe Cocker with a little help from my friends. That's another good one for the covers. What do I think of Todd Rundgren? I've got, if you look behind me on pretty much any episode on the shelf, there's a whole row of Todd albums from Runt up through their late 80s, early 90s. What do I think of the Shags? I have a real soft spot for the Shags, if only because it reminds me of me, if that makes sense. Like when I was trying to quote unquote make music when I was first starting out, when I was like 15, it was just me kind of whacking and hacking, and so yeah, that's what the Shags kind of sounds like to me. Midnight's Edge After Dark, totally unsubbed. Okay. I assume that's in reference to something. Vinyl Stud's favorites. Your thoughts on automakers dropping AM radio? Ford recently reversed their decision to drop it after Backlash. I think it's a bad decision. I think that, like in an emergency, if you lost cell service, and it does happen in parts of the country, that AM would be, quick and accessible and all that, and a good way of getting information out and helping people. So I think dropping AM radio is a very, very stupid idea. Joe Howe, Ben, where is Ed? Is he okay? Ed just kind of shows up occasionally now. He's lazy. Ed Itor, of course, my editor. Let's see, Victor Kawa, what would be one oddity archive topic you would never ever go back to, even if you were paid a huge sum? It depends on how huge the sum. The Kitty album episodes, I mean, they're funny. They turned out well, but it was a very high pain level for me. Let's see. Richard the Fox, out of all the video formats, what would be the one you'd want the most? VHD, VCord? I'm still really trying to get the CV skip field open reel half-inch thing going. So I've got it, it just doesn't work. Fry's Video Archive. Since I know you recorded King of the Hill, what's your favorite episode of that show? I think you must be talking about something on Annex from some time that I recorded it, maybe for Halloween or something. For the life of me, I don't remember. I only watched it periodically. Mr. Black, have you ever heard of the Smart Belt or AI toothbrush? No on both counts. Let's see, Michael Beverly. Saw you have We're Only In It for the Money. My favorite album. Thoughts on Zappa and the Mothers? Yeah, I like the Mothers. I especially like that lineup. It's that right mix of garage band energy, but also just, the ability to play whatever Zappa would throw at them. And one of the few times that it felt like a real proper band and not just something kind of slapped together out of other parts. I mean, to Zappa's credit, he could always make things work. Uncommented Code. Would you ever do an episode on the Weather Channel as a whole? Probably not. I don't think it would be very interesting. And besides, I think the Weather Channel itself would probably have a domain over that one. Ariel Plays. Was Denver the last dinosaur? It was in 1991. That was weird, moving to Denver in the early 90s when that cartoon came out. Richard the Fox, have you ever come across Mac Tonight ads? In my own tapes, maybe. I can't think of any offhand. I've seen plenty on YouTube, though. Old equals cool. Oddity Archive video shorts. When I actually tried to make a short out of one of the little bits out of one of the Halloween episodes, one of the little 30-second skits in one of those, and YouTube rejected it. I'm not entirely sure what I did wrong. I guess I have to make it on my phone or something. I don't get this newfangled stuff. Let's see. Happy Snout Hour. Would you ever do an episode on TV show pilots? E.g. how Shopping Bazaar later became Wheel of Fortune. Yeah, maybe. As long as YouTube doesn't give me too much crap about it. Another one of those kind of quick sitcom episodes that I do like once or twice a year. Let's see. Kit E. Cat. Hey Ben, have you heard of the series Knickknacks from the channel Pop Arena? Yeah, I have. I tried to watch the You Can't Do That on Television video, and I got real tired of the contemporary commentary. I wanted to hear about the show, not about the maker trying to comment on it from a 21st century perspective. To me, that is not your job when you're doing a history lesson. Kyle J. McElravy. Ben, are you a fan of Mr. Krabs? Is that a SpongeBob reference? That's a little after my my Nickelodeon period. I stopped watching Nickelodeon in about 96 or so. Lady Eucalyptus Ivy. What is your latest interesting VHS or Betamax find? I've already kind of discussed it. I found some interesting-ish, if all too brief, stuff on the Quasar tapes. I've got plenty of stuff that I need to at least transfer so I can post things to Annex over the summer. I'm still trying to finish up the Quasar stuff so I can start working on the between season stuff. I really don't want to have to drag it out to like 6 weeks between, 6 weeks of me trying to fill stuff. 5 is already really pushing my luck. Old equals cool. Will you ever change your YouTube profile picture? It took me years to realize it's a manila folder. I should probably redo it just so it's more clear, if nothing else. I don't even remember. I think I took that picture on my parents' hand-me-down digital camera, an actual proper digital camera with the kind of Sony gum stick things. Citrain Husky, has there ever been an update to finding the original VHS that was similar in your childhood to the happy hamster that scared you? I hate to break it to you, but that was a plot device. The Void, I know you're not much of a gamer, but what is your favorite video game? Pong. The original Super Mario Brothers. Nothing too deep. I used to love Pole Position when I was a little kid. Pac-Man. Lady Eucalyptus again. Have you ever found porn on a public domain tape? No, I have not. I have a conspiracy theory that sometimes those were from repurposed porn tapes, but I have yet to encounter anything like that myself. The playlist channel, probably Leighton saying this, do you have something in mind for another Networkisms episode? Yeah, probably TBS would be the most likely one. I'd kind of like to discuss like the Bill Tush era. There's not enough of his stuff on YouTube, but he did, I guess you could say, The Daily Show before The Daily Show, and better than The Daily Show. Hey Ben, where did your grandparents live in Sacramento? Well, not in Sacramento, but you always had to go to Sacramento. They were in Lodi, Woodbridge, in that neck of the woods. This was 30 years ago. Dan Sutherland, do you watch Dracula's Kung Fu Theater or any of the other low-budget horror hosts on retro TV? Not really. There's a channel called YTA or something around here. I think it might be somewhere else in the country that has a really wonky late-night horror host sort of thing that I'll watch occasionally. R66F plays games. Have you ever thought of doing an episode about VCR toys, computer stuff that you could hook up to a VCR? Yeah, and I haven't been able to do it. I was going to do Microsoft Actimates at one point. I've got one of the Barney tapes, but the people that own the rights to Barney these days, I guess, are a little on the aggressive side. So that never happened, but it's been kicked around. As far as other VCR toys, I did the Interactive Vision at one point. I have done some of that stuff in the past. You'd have to look it up. I think I referred to one of them as a VCR game. Mike, Leslie Duncan, Kiki D, or Judy Suk. I don't know who the last one is, but Leslie Duncan. Yeah, I wish I had something better to show than just my TV. I don't know. Should I just wave my hand just to freak everyone out? Maybe I can create an effect. EASCEC. Since you said you're farthest west, what's the farthest east you've visited? My dad lived in Virginia for a while. I visited him once when he was living out there. And that was the longest week of my life. I did not like DC South, as it's known, Northern Virginia. I was pretty much kissing the ground when I got back to beautiful downtown Aurora. That's how much I didn't like it. TV games. Gotta admit, never pictured Ben fishing. I imagine the water would ruin the box. Well, the box would want a massive fee if I tried to take it. That thing's needy. Let's see here. Gino Cuddy, what about an episode on Italo Disco? And of course, YouTube jumped me around again. You're the expert on that stuff. I think the only stuff of it I've heard is maybe the occasional bit that you've posted to Facebook. The Void. Would you do an archive on prank calls to call-in shows? Not explicitly. The original public access episode had a parody of that stuff, kind of a built-in sketch. Mike, wasn't that Jack Benny one the tape that had the off-brand copy protection? No, that was an Abbott and Costello one. The Jack Benny I'm referring to is on DVD. Pardon me, I don't know if I can read this. Lala Kikenji. Have you heard of Yellow Magic Orchestra? It's a Japanese trio who does electronic music. Heard of it. Have I ever owned a PAL VCR? I own 2 multi-region ones. I don't own a proper native PAL one. I try not to, well, I couldn't do true European stuff if I wanted to. I don't have the converters, but I think it's dangerous. Lady Eucalyptus Ivy, who is the most famous person you've ever met or talked to online? I don't know. I really couldn't tell you. Maybe Clint, LGR. Jesse, I'll go ahead and ask this. How do you decide what comments, questions to mention on these? It's random right now. I'm just trying to get through the list. There's no real rhyme or reason to what I'm doing. EASCEC. Benny, you've heard of Max Headroom, but have you heard about the 1988 World Series hijack in Macon, Georgia? No, I haven't, and if you have footage, I'd love to see it. I don't get to do hijack stuff a whole lot just because it doesn't happen a whole lot, and then having proof of it and then a story to tell to boot. That's always tough. Brian Hebert, have you ever considered doing a local TV special covering modern, i.e. 2000s and 2010s, local TV ads? The ads for Alaska's Mattress Ranch chain are fit for one. I kind of have, but the problem is once you get into post-2000, it becomes post-modern for a lot of these people, and they know it's a bad ad, and they're trying to make a bad ad. It's all a big joke. That's the thing. I've got some stuff left over from Denver that I recorded off the TV that I never covered because, as it turned out, it was just them, taking the piss. Let's see here. The Void. It is a reference to one of the Halloween episodes. Okay, good. When he referred to Your Time Has Come earlier. The Void, Nirvana's Man Who Sold the World Bowie cover is my favorite cover. That is a good one, but it's not too far off from Bowie, really. Oh, old equals cool. I think Midnight's Edge After Dark was joking about your Starship Troopers comment, Ben. Okay, I feel better now. I'm thinking, okay, I do say some dumb things, but I thought I was holding my tongue pretty well tonight. Erica Riley, what is your opinion on freeform public radio stations? Well, they're not one and the same, really. The public radio stations around here just talk and classical music. I'd kind of like to see an old-fashioned, like 1960s, early 70s freeform station again, but I don't think that would be profitable for anyone in the radio business. Derek Roberts, are you ever afraid you might accidentally find something that the FBI might want? Not really. I mean, that would make for a good story, though, wouldn't it? Let's see. Wade, will you ever do an episode on digital radio, such as HD radio? Only stations in South Dakota that broadcast that format are either in Mitchell or the local NPR station, SDPB. I've kind of kicked around the idea, but I don't really know anything about it on the technical end of things. And I've never owned an HD radio, actually. Uncommented Code. What's my favorite show on TV right now? Sven Gulli, I guess. That's kind of pretty much what I watched. That and occasionally that aforementioned late night public domain sort of horror theater show. Let's see, Alvin Hilton, abandoned channels 70 to 83. I think I've touched on that. I did a Ben's junk on a piece of gear trying to shift KLAK, so to speak, to one of those channels. And V Westlife had something similar. Jesse, there has never been a Channel 37 in North America either. Yeah, I discussed that in an episode. You're probably not referring to anything I said, though. Let's see, Sean Tuis, and forgive me if I botch anyone's name. Are you familiar with Mexican-made record ripoffs of US and UK hits? Mexico has no shortage of unironically funny covers. I have yet to see one. That sounds interesting. See, when I think Mexico, I would think more bootlegs, if I'm thinking stereotypically, certainly. Happy Snout Hour. Would you ever do a history episode on pirate radio? I know Art Bell mentioned he started one up when he was in the military. Not really, because the important ones have already kind of had documentaries and stuff. I'm pretty sure I've referenced like Radio Caroline and stuff too on Archive. It's probably been a very long time now. Fry's Video Archives. Have I ever gotten any Betamax recordings from after the 90s? I think I have one or two that are from like 2000 or 2001. I know I have a couple from the late 90s. Kind of weird to see something, you know, on beta from that late. Unless I recorded it, of course. Joe Howe, would I ever consider doing a show on the history of PBS? Not really. I could, I suppose, but it's one of those things I have a feeling that I'd be trying to keep myself awake, so to speak, through it. And I'm not being facetious or anything. Let's see. Tookie Dookie, remember your Random Kitty Records episode. Have you thought about doing an episode with Random Kitty VHS tapes? When I do Kitty VHS, it's usually baked into something else, like a Christmas episode. I don't really wish to do a standalone one of those. And also with YouTube's weird thing about, is this video for kids and all? Well, sometimes I show stuff that was intended for kids at the time, but my target audience is for people that saw it at the time, 80s, 90s, whenever. So they would not be children watching it today, but that's a bit of nuance that YouTube doesn't understand. Let's see, and sure enough. YouTube jumped me around again. Elevator Gallery, what's my thoughts on the Pac-Man TV show? Let's see. The cartoon is the only one I can think of. I'll just move the camera just for fun here. Make everyone seasick. Go back to Pukevision. Pac-Man TV show, I've only seen a few minutes of it. Fry's Video Archives. YTA. Oh, that's what became of YouTube TV, I think. Okay, that would make sense. Because I don't think we have any, explicitly local stuff unless it's, one of the, affiliates here. And even then, we have, 2 news broadcasts to choose from because Gray Broadcasting bought out all but one of the channels here, and they just run the same damn news on all the channels, which I didn't even think was legal, but they do. And also Gray Broadcasting were the ones that were giving Found Footage Fest crap back in 2018 or so over the chop and steal thing. I'm waiting to see that documentary. I told the guys and the filmmakers that I was holding out for a physical copy, and they were like, yeah, we're gonna put one out. So yeah, I guess I need to go through with my threat, if you will, to purchase a Blu-ray. Has the box been the same since day one? The Hunter Persian. Yes, astoundingly yes. I'm amazed the thing hasn't completely collapsed. The thing, it's not even really straight anymore. I have to overcompensate the camera or prop it up underneath with folded up pieces of paper and stuff. And it never does quite sit right anymore. So the thing, it's collapsing, but it hasn't quite happened yet. Noe75. Hey Ben, my skeleton Jeff wants to know if your skeleton Craig would like to host a talk show with him. You'd have to ask his agent. He got famous on me, Craig. I already answered something like that. Forcefield 23. Have I worked on any music lately? I've got some written that I just need to do and play enough to, be able to survive a take of it. Otherwise, I haven't done anything since late last year. Actually, I think Weather Station on the Halloween episode was the last one I worked on. "33 Skull Bandit. You have an episode about sign-offs. Ever consider doing one with bumpers or things like that?" Yeah, but it would take a lot of them to fill out an episode because, they're so short. Let's see here. McMaster13, McMixer13. Are you doing a commentary this year? Like an episode commentary? I hadn't planned on it. I don't think I have any that were noteworthy enough to really discuss. There's no point in having one for the Quasar episode because it's so dang long, episodes. TYX, will you ever make a video on mysterious unknown songs? No, because it's so easy for the internet to fudge that stuff. Sometimes you'll see videos go viral on, oh, what is this song that I found from 1982? And it turns out that it's something somebody made last week just trying to sound old. Morrison AV, any regrets for starting off with the box? Yes, my back. I have to sit in a very awkward position to make that shot work, to make that framing work. Let's see here. I think I might be getting down to the end here. Once I get to the end here, it's I think I'm going to call it a night. I think I've been on this for almost 3 hours now. Let's see here. Richard the Fox, ever consider ever doing an episode on a dead or no longer popular music genre? There's no point to it, and I think there's fans of every so-called dead genre enough to have done it justice elsewhere. And I can't say I'm a big enough fan of myself of anything that would be called a dead genre. Elevator Gallery, where did you get your realistic synth? Some sort of used instrument consignment store sort of deal back in Denver ages ago. Lady Eucalyptus Ivy, do you like yacht rock radio on Sirius XM? I actually had to take out a subscription to Sirius not too long ago just because there isn't a whole lot to listen to on the radio here. KISD is kind of it. And that's over in Pipestone, Minnesota. But yeah, I like yacht rock as a genre. I've listened to that channel a few times, but it seems like they just play the same few songs over and over again. I really wish they would expand their repertoire. And they were plugging something one time when I was listening for like yacht rock deep cuts or something, and they said just search it in the XM search. Couldn't find it. I got no return whatsoever. Gray of PTA, have you ever heard of the KLEE signal mystery? I can't think of what that is. And once again, take a shot, everyone that's drinking. YouTube jumped me around again. Elevator Gallery, can you do something on numbers stations? There's a shortwave episode I did like in season 2 that covers number stations to some degree. Let's see, Cheyenne Sanchez. What would you think of doing episodes on the more obscure TV networks like the Overmyer Network and long defunct ones like Satellite News Channel? That sort of thing has been in the mix. It's just finding enough info and or footage. Like I have a kind of a half abandoned episode on like stabs at a fourth network, and I don't mean Fox, or I guess a fifth network by the time some of these started. But it was just always running into a wall at some point. And then some of those really early stabs at a fourth network too, like in the late 50s, early 60s. Let's see here. Old equals cool. What was the hardest to research episode you've ever written? On that note, I would love to be a research assistant if you ever need one. Okay. I'll have to keep that in mind. So far, funnily enough, it's been the Quasar. You're going to be very disappointed with the history lesson on that thing because a lot of it's speculative. I could not find concrete anything on a lot of it. Brian Hebert, have you ever considered doing an episode on cable in the classroom? I already answered that one. Yeah, I've considered it, and it might be a good candidate for season 12. And did I watch UPN from 1995 to 2006? Alvin Hilton. I don't think I ever watched UPN, their actual programming. I mean, I remember being, growing up in Denver and watching reruns, during the day and stuff on the would-be UPN channel, like Wonder Years reruns. Let's see here. Wade. Gray was able to merge KSFY KDLT thanks to petitioning the FCC to waive the rule that normally prevents a single owner from running two top market TV stations in a market, which I think is wrong. It makes me wonder how much they bribed the FCC. I think that's just a bad idea. We don't even need the FCC if they're going to be pulling stunts like that. Firewalker, I really enjoyed the video you did on the USA Network. Any plans on doing videos on other networks like TBS, TNT? I already answered that. Mike, ever doing an episode on non-network TV organizations like Metro Media or Kaiserfield? I've thought about it, but it's an issue of earthquake vision. Finding info and all that, and otherwise I'd be just kind of running footage, talking over it from their channels, of that period, WFLD and some of those. Let's see here. Jumped me again. Derek Roberts, what's yacht rock? That's kind of a debate, but it generally means like mid 70s rather through mid 80s soft rock. The really smooth and sometimes more jazz informed stuff. JL, you're not kidding about Yacht Rock Radio on Sirius XM. I do Uber and Lyft, and one day I heard the same song 3 times in a 4 to 6 hour shift. Yeah, I had it on for like half an hour not too long ago, and great song, love the song, but they did the Doobie Brothers' What a Fool Believes twice in 10 minutes. They played the Doobies tune, some other tune, and then they played What a Fool Believes again. Same version. Victor Cowo, not sure if you answered the question yet, but have you ever considered doing an episode of dead TV channels that went away for interesting reasons? I can't think of any offhand that I would think of here. What I did, the Dumont one fairly early on, I kind of consider that the endurance test of archive episodes. TYX, have you ever found something interesting on an old laptop desktop that was discarded by someone else? A few months ago, I did a video on a Toshiba laptop. I left that intact, so check that out to see. It's not anything, hot, But yeah, check that out. Everything was still intact from like the late 90s, early 2000s. Wade, would I ever do an episode on quirky local late night talk shows? There is one in Sioux Falls called Late Night Boomin' that airs Saturday nights, and it's quite low budget. I'd have to see that. I have not seen that yet. Usually if I have the TV on late Saturday night at all, it's like White Wall Sessions reruns, and it makes me want to gag. There's a thing called White Wall Sessions here in Sioux Falls. There's a record store called Last Stop that I do go to periodically. But in the basement of the place, they have a studio where they do a weekly show, which I don't think they're even doing new ones anymore. But it's just that, the White Wall Sessions. You're playing in a white room. And it's kind of the stuff that I was running away from when I lived in Denver. By the end in Denver, it was all bad Americana. So that's all I hear from there. It's like, don't you have any rock bands? Don't you have anything, you know? I'll even settle for a country group. All these John Prine wannabes. Let's see. Jesse, I meant to ask you if you know how old your Quasar machine is. Mine has 377 stamped on the inside of the side panels and on the TV tuner. The small motor on the bottom is dated 1176. Funnily enough, I've got a conspiracy theory. The power out receptacle on mine appears to have a July of 75 date on it. And I'm finding kind of random times on it in places. So I'm wondering if some of the ones that they made in Japan in 1975 that didn't sell, they took parts of and put on the American machines when they put them out here. But I've got reason to believe that mine might be partially made out of leftover parts, or parts from other Quasar electronics that were a year or two old at the time. Am I a fan of Barry Manilow, Sweet Sapphire 88? Not really. I've got a fair amount of respect for him, though. He became cool with me for helping Ray Stevens out on I Need Your Help, Barry Manilow, which is a great parody of Manilow's style. That he was cool enough to actually go along with the joke. That made him all right to me. And writing the KFC jingle, I guess. Analog archaeologist, how about a video on low-budget broadcasts other than public access? As I find them, they kind of tend to be baked into other subjects when I do that sort of thing, like just local TV and all that. Elevator gallery, do you ever get bored with nostalgia? Not really, because only a relatively small amount of the stuff I cover seems to be nostalgic. A lot of this stuff that I do is kind of me hitting it for the first time. Friendly Neighborhood House Centipede. Ooh. Any plans to do an episode on radio interference? Things like Duga Radar, Project Sanguine, The Workshop. Nope. I think that's a little outside of my expertise. Get some of the real, true radio people on that. Grave PTA. KLEE Signal Mystery was a broadcast of a TV signal that was picked up years after it was transmitted. You gotta be careful with that stuff. There's a lot of fake stuff going around. Seems like a few times a year viewers will send me stuff on YouTube and it's not legit. But it could be. That's the first I've heard of that. I'm just saying. Let's see here. Erica Riley. Ben, did you hear about the CBS-owned CW stations becoming independent in September? South Dakota won't be affected, I don't think. I'm not very good at keeping up with the things going on in the broadcast world. I guess I just don't. I'm not a big TV watcher. I know that's kind of strange for me to say for all the TV stuff I do. There's kind of a reason why it's old stuff on archive. Most TV just makes me sick now. Yeah. YouTube moved me around again. JL, I loved XM when I first got it in 2004. I heard stuff I had never heard before or hadn't heard in forever. Now the 80s channel plays the same stuff every day. My problem with the 80s channel when I try and listen to it is that they play a lot of chopped versions. I do not want to hear Sister Christian with the guitar solo cut out. That's wrong. Yeah, with regards to XM, I tend to be a deep tracks kind of guy. TYX, will you ever make an episode on the defunct TV channel, the Nostalgia Channel? That was one of the ones that I had in the running for like failed other networks. I think so. I've got some footage that I found on YouTube at least of it. Frustratingly, there was another channel that I sort of had on Betamax, but somebody kept cutting off the bumpers like 1 or 2 seconds in. Let's see, Wade. South Dakota does have some rock bands, but the most popular ones appear to be Too Drunk to Fish, Cory and the Fireflies, The Terrible Thrills. Yeah, I've got one of those Cory and the Fireflies records. I wasn't terribly impressed. Let's see, Jesse. Didn't see any date on the power outlet on my Quasar. We'll have to check that again. Have you looked at the inner side panels on yours? Yes, and that says 73 on it. So I think that might be just a part number. Otherwise, they had stuff sitting around for a very long time. From the words of BR, where was that? Have I ever considered trying out the Viewmaster camera or random 2000s camcorders like the Disney flicks? Oh, I just said the D word. Not really. There's some Viewmaster stuff that I'd like to cover. I've kind of been slowly building up a collection of like 50s to 70s Viewmaster ephemera that I'd like to eventually cover. JL, I got another great idea. Have you considered doing an episode on TV commercials for local radio stations? No, but that is an idea. And of course, sometimes I'd have to be dealing with the songs. That's the last thing I need to have, a video get blocked over like 6 seconds of Melissa Manchester or something. Hunter Persian, do I watch EAS scenarios? I've seen a couple of them, but I prefer real EAS stuff. I don't like getting into fanfic. And the more and more weather tragedy you live through, you don't want the fantasy stuff. You don't even want the real stuff either. Bill McMinn, on the original TV sign-offs episode, the first sign-off you used in the intro to the episode was from Kella. Was that a coincidence or was that deliberate? That was deliberate. That was a bit of nostalgia. False, misplaced nostalgia on my part. I never actually saw one of those live, but I don't know. I guess I had South Dakota on the brain when I made that. That was after a car accident. I've discussed that on the commentary for that episode. Jesse, I want to transmit some old TV recordings on a homemade frequency, but probably nobody but the FCC would see it. Depends on the power level, I guess. I don't know. Am I giving out bad advice here? Like when I do KLAK, when I walk around with my handheld TV, the signal drops like the instant I step outside of the room. I don't even make it outdoors. So I only do it for very short periods of time. So it's like the FCC would have to be really, really spot on for that, and I don't see how I could ever interfere with something like that when I can barely make it function myself. Let's see, I already answered that one. Do I play video games? Like I said, not a whole lot, and when I do, they're old ones. From the words of BR, I can confirm that 80s on 8 does a lot of repeats. JL. Damn you, YouTube. What about the badly edited version of Money for Nothing? Yeah. I mean, I get why they do that, but it's stupid, and it's going to be adults listening to that anyway. $1903 TX. Why does XM play cut-up versions of songs? Yeah, exactly. Who are they trying to impress? It's not like they have, commercials to run or anything. Sweet Sapphire 88 chat for $1.99. No words though, but thank you nonetheless. All right, Gino's tapping out for the night, so I'm probably going to do the same once I get through the list here. Actually, I know I'm going to because my voice is not going to survive. Mandaleo, I hope I got that right. Hey Ben, besides Laserdisc, what's your favorite media format and what is the worst? I'm kind of hating the Quasar. That's been, you'll see it when I cover it. That's been a massive beat your head against the wall sort of thing. Otherwise, like VHS and beta, I like those. I can go either way on the VHS beta thing. $5 super chat from Grayman Media. Thank you for that, by the way. How about exploring the world of cable access TV shows? Atomic TV is one. Had Underdog Lady, National Bohemian comes in that India song. Okay. Is it Underdog Lady? Is that the same one that appeared on Beyond Vaudeville? Good Lord, I can't even speak anymore. Oh, this is interesting. From Wade. Fun fact, the Nostalgia Channel is the direct ancestor of YTA. It's been through so many owners, even being owned by a religious cult at one point, then being called American Life TV. Okay, I did not know that. TYX, of all the VCRs you have, which one is your least favorite? The Quasar isn't getting a whole lot of love from me. I mean, I'm figuring it out. Otherwise, I got some like cheapy 2-head VHS ones that I use for moldy tape duty and that sort of thing. JL, speaking of camcorders, I know on your episode for it, I mentioned how badly I wanted a Fisher-Price PXL 2000 as a kid, but my mother kept telling me no. I'm so glad she did. That thing is a joke. Yeah, it's not exactly the most fun thing to use. I could see a lot of kids just like dropping it as a kid would and completely screwing the thing. Sweet Sapphire 88, another super chat, $19.99. Thank you. That's really, really generous. Mighty Film, man, there was this really weird radio station commercial I saw once that was made like a broadcast interruption. Creeped me out as a kid. Interesting. I wonder if the FCC saw that. Friendly Neighborhood House Centipede. Thoughts on analog horror, like as a genre, like to use an obvious example, Blair Witch Project, that sort of thing. Not really a big fan. Old equals cool. I found some good 1977 news clippings on the QMT. I assume that's the Quasar time machine. I've gathered as much as I can. I wonder if we didn't find some of the same stuff. Let's see. JL, I'm not referring to them removing the other F word. In the second verse, their version goes beyond that. A country channel plays the whole thing. Okay, yeah, I was referring to them censoring it, but yeah, it's also, it's an 8.5 minute cut. Money for Nothing, Dire Straits, so, them cutting that, and there's no reason to on paid radio like XM, and I'm having a really tough time getting used to the watery sound. But I hear enough Keepers on Deep Tracks and Soul Town and some of those others that I keep it, or I'll have it on in the background while I'm working on stuff. Morrison AV, how about an episode about pre-MTV late-night music video shows? Hollywood Heartbeat is one of my favorites I feature on my channel. If there's a story behind it, I guess, but it seems like I've kind of done that stuff. I did like U66 and some of that at one point. Video Jukebox, I mean that's post-MTV, but it's the same thing. Jesse, really looking forward to the Quasar episode. Haven't had any huge problems with mine so far. Yeah, I haven't had any huge problems per se, but I think the head was already a bit worn. Of course, I'd have to find like a parts machine to kind of steal from. Bad YouTube, jumping all around again. Jesse, I do have a ton of moldy tapes I need to take apart and clean. Yeah, and take out the foam. The foam is all bad on all of those tapes. You don't have to replace it with anything, but get rid of that foam. It's going to just turn to dust and give you problems. Victor Callow, on the topic of religious cult, would you ever think about doing an episode on media from them, but not getting too deep into the dark stuff? Not really, because it's just not my department. Like I mentioned when I did Laserdisc video magazines fairly recently, when I did Scream Greats, they only put out 2 issues, and one of them was on satanic groups. And I was just like, that's just not my department. I only even picked it up just so I'd have all 2 volumes of that video magazine. FCN, I swear I have occasionally heard Sirius XM air the radio edits of songs even though they're satellite. Oh yeah, they play edits on the pop stations, certainly. Let's see, Jesse. How about the history of religious TV? Hasn't been much of that lately, except for the Jimmy Swaggart network that is leased on some channels. Yeah, well, wouldn't most of the existing footage be of Swaggart and some of those 80s dudes that were having some fun side projects? I generally don't do religious stuff on Archive because I hate to say low-hanging fruit, but, it seems like such an obvious target, especially for somebody who's known to be a bit snarky at times. So I tend to only do it if it's, like, really bad. Let's see here. Ed Beatty Jr. Hey, Benny Boy, love your Archive riffs. Do you follow Bob the Fish YouTube channel? Some Blizzard advice, bread, peanut butter, gallon water. Nope, never heard of him. That's the first I've heard of him. All right, I think I finally caught up, so I am going to call it a night here. Thanks everyone for making an absolute record breaker of a stream, 3 hours and 25 minutes of this stuff. So I am going to cut out here thanks everyone again for being here. And yeah, tune in, so to speak, next week, and we'll start digging into the Quasar Great Time Machine stuff. So I'm out.